At one point in my life, I was working at a job that I didn't really like. I had a coworker who was always asking me questions about my personal life. He was asking me about my relationship, my friends, and my family. I didn't feel comfortable answering these questions, but I was afraid of being rude. In the end, I decided to be honest with him. The next time he asked me a personal question, I told him, "Sorry, but I don't feel comfortable talking about my personal life." It was surprising to him, but he accepted my response. Then stop asking me personal questions. Welcome to my channel. I'll show you how to manipulate people better with a question you don't want to answer. Sometimes, someone might ask you a question that's embarrassing, too personal, or unnecessary, or inappropriate, and you don't want to answer it. It can be difficult to know how to handle these situations, especially if you don't want to be rude or hurt the other person's feelings. In this video, we provide some tips and tricks that can help you handle these situations intelligently and respectfully. Before you can deal with the situation effectively, it is important to understand why you do not want to answer the question. Is it because the question is embarrassing or too personal? Is it because you don't want to tell someone something private? Or do you simply not feel comfortable answering the question? Once you understand why you don't want to answer, you can start thinking about how to handle the situation. There are several reasons why you may not want to answer a question. Some are more common than others, of which you may not want to share personal information with someone you do not know well. You may not want to talk about something that is embarrassing. You may think that the question is not important or that there is no need to answer it. So there are a few ways you can deal with a question you don't want to answer. The first method, you can ignore it. This is the most common option, but not always the best option. Because if you ignore the question, the person may keep asking it. Imagine that you are at a party with people you do not know well. Someone starts asking you personal questions like, "How old are you?" or "What is your job?" or "What is your current relationship?" If you don't feel comfortable answering these questions, you can simply ignore them. You can smile, nod, or change the subject. For example, you can say, "Sorry, but I don't feel comfortable sharing this information." Or, "That's an interesting question, but we have another more fun topic we can talk about." The second method. If you do not want to answer these questions, use avoidance techniques. Then you can change the subject. You can try to shift the conversation to another topic or to something more positive or neutral. Use vague or general language. For example, if someone asks you what your salary is, you can answer something like, "I'm comfortable with what I get." Turn the question into another question. For example, if someone asks you about your political views, you can answer by asking, "What do you think of the current political situation?" Use humor to avoid answering. For example, if someone asks you how much you weigh, you can answer something like, "I'm fine, I guess." The third method. You can provide a response that does not answer the question directly, but may give the person an idea of what you are thinking. Imagine that you are on a date with someone new. The person starts asking you very personal questions, such as, "What are your dreams and goals?" Or, "What's the worst experience you've ever had?" If you do not want to answer these questions, you can provide an indirect response, but may give the person an idea of what you are thinking. For example, you could say, "I'm always thinking of ways to improve myself." Or, "I've been through some tough times in my life, but I've learned a lot from them." Fourth method. You can only partially answer the question. You can answer the question, but only with part of the information. Imagine that you are in a job interview. The interviewer asks you a personal question, such as, "What are your weaknesses?" If you do not want to answer this question completely, you can only answer it partially. You can answer the question, but only with part of the information. For example, you could say, "I am always working on improving my communication skills. I tend to be very meticulous with my work, and this can sometimes lead to delays." Finally, in some cases, it may be better to be honest with the person and tell them that you don't want to answer the question. There is no right or wrong way to handle a situation where someone asks you a question and you don't want to answer it. The best way to deal with the situation is to do what feels comfortable. But it's important to be polite and respectful, even if you don't want to answer the question. It's up to you how to handle a question you don't want to answer. However, remember that you have the right not to answer questions that you do not want to answer. If you have reached here, thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel.